Shut up and sit down.
Yep. I said it before and I'll say it again. Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
Yeah. If you could just go ahead and make sure you do that from now on, that would be great.
In your rambling, incoherent response, were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought? Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Just when I think you couldn't possibly be any dumber, you go and do something like this. And totally redeem yourself!
Without much further ado, I give you the
Dialed Podcast with your hosts, Matt Legrand, Evan Price, Lance Hepler, and Jake Von Duering. I know you want to keep listening to me, but they are not paying me squat, so I'm out of here.
All right.
Hello and welcome back to the Dialed Podcast. Thank you for joining us for another episode. Today I am here with Matt Legrand.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the interwebs.
Evan Price.
How's it going?
We've got Lance on location.
Woo.
Yes, international man of mystery, man about town, Lance Romance on location.
And we have a special guest with us today. We have Justin Wagner. We'll call him the kingpin of the ODZ team. Justin, thank you for coming on the show.
Kingpin, does that makes me sound like a drug lord of some sort or something? I'm not sure that's what.
That's kind of what it is, right?
I'll own it. Yeah, welcome. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yes, thank you for joining us. All right, so let's get into a quick backpedal here. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about today, so we'll try and make this somewhat quick. Let's run around the table and the phone and all that other fun stuff. Lance, why don't you start us off because you are on location. Where are you, Lance?
I'm actually currently in Moab, Utah. I do not have a job, and so I saw that I had some open days on my schedule, and I hopped in my truck with my 3 bikes and my dog, and I took off. So my daughter is down here working in Moab, Utah, so I decided to come down and spend a couple days with her. I stopped in Sun Valley, Idaho for a couple days beforehand. My plan was to go there, but the weather wasn't all that hot. It was a lot of thunderstorms, and so I just kept on coming. So that's
like
why I'm
when the wind is blowing today. If the wind is blowing south, you just go south. Otherwise, you.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, it was all thunderstorms and raining, and I'm like,
so
okay, no,
Point to point.
I'm going to go to the sun. But I actually had a pretty good week because I last Monday I raced at Monday Portland International Raceway, and I ended up hanging with the group and ended up taking 3rd place in the 4-5 race, which was unexpected. So
that's some good stuff right there. I've been telling you, Lance, you're back, dude. You're just about there.
Right at the beginning of the season, too, just killing it. Good job, Lance.
Had a kid.
The best story was that I finished in 3rd place. I'm feeling all hot and cool, and I'm in the finisher area with the whole team. I go to turn my bike around, and I'm still clipped in.
Please tell me
and
you
I
fell.
Yes. Right over on
Yes.
right in front of everybody. In front of the whole team, in front of the whole finisher area.
Top 5.
It was hilarious.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, we'll get back to you in a minute, and we're going to want to talk a little bit about some of these pictures that you've been posting up and just killing us all with, but we'll come back to that in a minute. Evan, how was your week, bud?
I have a mustache because I lost a bet, and not only just a mustache, I have like sideburns with it too. It was a work bet. I need to never ever bet mustaches again. It is a terrible look for me.
This is a work you had a bet that was.
Yeah.
Okay.
This was not a personal choice. This was 100% not a personal choice.
Cool.
Oh yeah, but that's basically it for me. So.
How's the training week?
Really tiring, and I'm under recovered, which we will talk about later.
Okay.
Cool. Right. Matt, how was your week?
Good. Let's see. just got out for a couple, training rides and stuff like that, and then I raced yesterday, half marathon, which was
I saw that. You raced well.
Yeah,
I saw
for
124, right?
Yeah, 124, and that's it's way more than half the mileage that I do for a standard week. It's like I don't run, and
still
then,
in it.
And I won the race and set the course record.
What?
And yeah, I don't know. It's ridiculous. So now, I mean, I'm so sore right now. If you guys were able to see me walk around, it's pretty sad sight to see.
We'll have to have a walk off and see whose form is worse right now.
And Jake's recovering from his crash still, so he and I could probably grab a pair of walkers or something like
there
that
you
and
go.
just race around.
Now we've got something entertaining.
Yeah.
I'm really liking my odds at this table right now.
Oh, Justin Wagner, a week in the life of Justin Wagner. How was your week, Justin?
Well, speaking of crash offs and walk offs, I too am on the injured reserve list at the moment. Jake actually copied me. I crashed first, and in more style,
stealing styles,
more flair, more things broken. But,
bike included too, if I'm not mistaken.
Bike's toast.
I got to teach you how to
surgery.
I got to teach you how to save your poor bike next time you go down.
Shoulder surgery, back up there.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So the shoulder, I have a displaced fracture in my glenoid, so they gotta pin that back together. However, in order to do that, they have to put my arm in traction.
Mm-hmm.
But I also have a radial head fracture at my elbow, which means they can't put me in traction without risking losing movement in my left hand. So we're waiting till like the beginning of June for the elbow to heal, so then they can do surgery on the shoulder. And
oh my gosh,
yeah. So basically, the season I just kind of went to the toilet and flushed it 2 weeks ago.
Oh man. Tell us about the race and kind of how that went down.
How the crash went down. So I was at Tour de Bloom in Wenatchee, and actually was doing pretty well after the road race and the time trial. I was racing in the Pro 1-2s. I was placed 9th in general classification. I had placed 8th in the time trial, which I was very happy about. There was like 60 some odd Pro 1-2s there. So very happy. And so I said, hey, let's just do the crit. Let's survive. And I actually don't race on Sundays for religious reasons, for religious respect. And so I knew I was going to be dropping after the crit. But I wanted to be able to say, hey, I finished the crit. I had my 9th place in GC, and I'm out. And so with like 2 laps to go, we come by the lap point, and I'm thinking, yes, okay, I did it. Like I hung on. I didn't drop a chain. Didn't have a mechanical. Like I hung on in this super fast crit. Go into corner number 1, and there's a body on the ground, and I hit it at full speed and go flying over my handlebars into the bushes, and
oh man.
So the bushes did not really break your fall like you were hoping.
Yeah, well, it was bushes / something else really hard / I went over there's a big dent in my helmet. Luckily, no concussion. The doctor said I was just as stupid after as I was before, so we're good.
That's
there.
good.
Good. And luckily, I was not the worst off from the crash. I don't know the gentleman's name, but he was in the hospital for 2 days with 3 broken ribs, broken collarbone, broken shoulder, and a lacerated lung, if I believe.
That's dangerous.
Is this the gentleman that was your speed bump?
No, actually, my speed bump gentleman, an Audi racer. I have a beautiful picture of it, actually, of me destroying his wrist and back, but he only came out with the sprained wrist and, quote, really sore back. I guess my front fork
from your front wheel.
My front fork that snapped when I hit his back must have gotten the brunt of it. So
Did you happen to catch your speed right before the crash? Do you have any idea?
So before we started swinging into it, I was going 31, and it maybe trailed down to like maybe 28, but I was taking the outside line, so I probably was actually trying to speed up.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a drop from 31 to 27, and I don't know if that's me in the air dropping from 31 to 27 or before the corner. I don't have enough stats.
The speed bump slow you down 4 miles an hour as soon as you hit it.
Exactly. So
Jake really did copy completely off you. That was very similar to Jake's outside of it wasn't into a turn.
Yeah. Man, I'm sorry,
So-
Justin. That's a bummer because you really did work your butt off. And I mean, if there's a picture of that you can put up a wall of dedication and consistency, it's this man right here. I mean, he is up every single day leading the charge and just throwing down, awesome training program after awesome training program.
Yeah, you spend a lot of time on the trainer, right?
I do. I have 4 young kids, a 5th on the way, full-time job, and just to spend time with the family in the evening. Morning times is my training, and
So that's like 4
Zwift-
a.m. or
Zwift is-
something like that?
Yeah, well, I have a standing ride that I do every Thursday at 4:15 a.m.
Yeah, that's right.
It actually hasn't stopped. That's still continued even after the crash.
I was
so-
going to ask if you were able to, figure out the arm situation and be able to get on the trainer. So
Yeah, here's the mic drop on that. Do you guys aware of the CVR racing series on Zwift?
Yeah.
This is the one with the big money cash prize stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I won that race with my broken arm and shoulder. And there's
Oh,
actually a
wow.
video of it on Facebook.
Wow.
I won the
That's-
sprint finish. So
Wow.
That's not
much
messing
demoralized
around.
anyone
Yeah.
else who was sprinting against me.
Did you make sure? Is it kind of like the video games the kids play these days when they got the headsets they can talk back and forth? Can you do that on that? Like, are you communicating back and forth with people?
Oh, totally. We use Discord and it's so nerdy. It's so awesome.
You should have
It's
been
like
talking so much
team
trash
car
during
radio,
that.
Team car radio to the max, man. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, Justin actually turned us on to that. We started up our own team rides on Tuesday nights, and we did it for pretty much the month of November, December, January, and I think we even went into February. But using Discord was a huge help, and it was actually made the interaction quite a bit more fun because there was definitely some trash talking going on, and it was just a good way to keep everybody in the loop.
So
Discord, just to explain that, it's a separate app from Zwift. It's basically like a big chat room that you can all go in and talk to, and a lot of gamers use it, but and the Zwift community's picked it up to be able to just communicate real time, so you don't have to type.
Okay. So Justin, I think everybody would be really interested in hearing. Give us your typical, obviously prior to crash, 7-day week balancing. I mean, we talk about balance on this show a lot, and I think you would be an expert at juggling and balancing things right now. So can you give us just a snapshot of your week, typical week?
Okay, so like a typical hard training week for me, I will put in like as many as, so assuming let's say I'm working my normal work week, and it's not a week with extra time or anything, but let's say I'm putting in about 15 or so hours. So I'm going to be putting in starting at least at 5 a.m. on the trainer most days during the week, sometimes 4. I'll ride till either 7 or 8 in the morning, depending on the day of the week. I go into work, do my work day, come back, spend time with family in the evening, and I get to bed at I try to get to bed early enough that waking up at 4 isn't a nightmare. But, I'd say the one thing that does suffer in all this is I probably end up running like 5 to 6 hours of sleep on average.
You fall asleep.
I'm sure
you fall asleep putting the kids to bed.
Nobody would recommend. So that's my big naughty right there, is I steal sleep.
Yeah, but there is some good. I mean, how many years have you been doing that now? That sort of sleep pattern.
So I haven't been doing 15 hours a week for this many years. I've only really been in the sport, honestly, about 3, maybe 4 years.
Okay.
About 3 years. So
Justin came on the scene just like with gangbusters. It's like he got a bike, and all of a sudden I don't know if your athletic ability or what your athletic history is, but the way you have come on the scene has just been so incredible to watch, Justin. You have just been so strong. What's your history?
Yeah. Oh, I appreciate that, Lance. So I ran in high school. My senior year, I think my junior, senior year, I switched over to distance running after I found out that I sucked at jumping on the track team.
You could have done a decathlon.
Yeah. So I had a decent, I ran the mile in 4:30 in high school.
That's
which was not good enough to get into varsity districts because there were kids running a 4:08 in my district.
What district were you in?
I'm in Spokane, so it was the greater GSL.
So this is like Meade High School is like the
Yes,
So
exactly.
Justin, I'm not sure exactly how old you are, but so I don't. Do you remember like there's like 3 Fayant brothers that were from Spokane? I'm friends with all these guys, and they, so one was like has the course record at the state meet for cross country. They all came through Spokane, this like family that was fast, right?
Yeah.
And it's it's a tricky.
So I'm turning 32 this year.
Okay, so they're probably they're a little older than you, but yeah, it's a fast area. And that Meade High School, it's like one of the best schools in the nation for running and stuff. So Spokane's it's pretty competitive. And actually, even now, it's actually still really competitive. There's 2 schools. It's not Meade anymore, but there's 2 other schools up there.
I think North Central's doing.
Yeah, they're doing excellent.
Really well, from what I've heard.
And then one other school in there, so they're doing great. So it's a competitive area. I don't know what do you guys got in the water up there?
If we told you, we'd have to kill you.
Oh,
there you go. Yeah. Not allowed to ask.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I ran in high school. I knew that running wasn't gonna be the next end all be all for me. I knew the sport would end me before I ended the sport, and so I basically just decided to focus on school and getting my degree. And I served a mission for my church, and so after all that settled, I was 255 pounds coming out of grad school, and then got a bike, and now I'm back down to like 185. So and that's what I was in high school, was 185. Yeah.
That's an awesome story. I love how bicycles just change people's lives. It's good stuff right there. Justin, you are one of the few guys that kind of put this whole ODZ thing together. Can you just give us a little bit of background on what ODZ is and your team and just kind of how that whole scene works in real life and in the digital world?
Sure. So ODZ is a club/team that started on Zwift of all places, and you're probably wondering what ODZ stands for. And if you could see the logo, it's a guy on a bike, and if you look close enough, the bike is actually a pair of glasses. Okay, and so the people who started the club were 2 optometrists. So the title. Oh. The real origin of ODZ stands for optometrists on Zwift. So OD is the acronym for optometrist. You no longer need to be an optometrist to be in the club. I'll just throw it out there.
I was going to ask, when did that rule go away? Was that pretty quick, I bet. That's a pretty selective group.
It just stuck. It was cool, but it had this cool play because they were so obsessed with Zwift. They felt like they were overdosing on Zwift. So it was both ODing on Zwift and optometrists on Zwift. We had the few logos in the early iterations that spelled out overdosing on Zwift, but it got some pretty. We got contact from people at high levels that said, "Please don't have doping or dosing anywhere near the name Zwift, please." So now basically you get this whole story when you ask what ODZ stands for. But my current interpretation of what ODZ stands for is obviously dominating Zwift. That's what I think it stands for. So.
I like that. That's good.
So basically it started as a club. We had some really cool rides we organized on Zwift where we basically. Because we know Zwift, you can do so many different things than you could do in a normal group ride. We wanted to add all the flair, fun, gaming, cool rules, different strategies you couldn't do in the real world. That's kind of our flavor of things we organize, and it's gone gangbusters. And this year I started it as a local club in Spokane. We've got about 20 so guys in our club that are either just riding with us or racing with us. So yeah, and we're connected with everyone through Facebook and Zwift, and so it's pretty awesome.
So if people are interested in either joining the club or like learning more about it, where can they go? What can they do?
TeamODZ.com.
Okay.
We've got a great Facebook, and we're also a great presence on Facebook. You can check us out there. There's actually so if you basically the way to like earn your badge to the team is what we call a kit challenge. And so if you go up on our website, there's a page called the Kit Challenge where you do a series of things to basically earn your virtual kit in the game. And we give you then the code so you can use the kit in the game. But that's kind of the way to like join the team. That's our, I'm thinking of what's the word I want to say, our hazing process. You got to do the kit challenge. So.
Justin, on the homepage, is this you sprinting away from the group right here?
I wish. That's actually a gentleman out of Vancouver, British Columbia, Brett Boniface.
Okay.
And he's noticed I think that's the Glotman Simpson kit in the yellow and black.
Yes.
That's behind them.
Yeah.
So Yeah, he's Brett has raced professionally. He's actually one of the main organizers of the Applewood Garneau U23 team. You may have seen them at some of the bigger stage races in the area. But so
He's got
that's Brett.
Quite a set of quads. Oh my gosh.
All right, so
jeez.
So if let's just say for example that I'm like a scrawny triathlete that's not. Let's just say I'm not pushing a lot of watts. I mean, hypothetically.
He has a friend. Yeah.
I have a friend. Yeah, hypothetically. So I know that. There are ways to make some adjustments and things like that so that I'm able to join some of the group rides. Is that right? Do you want to explain that to the listeners?
Oh yeah. So the group rides, a lot of them are of all certain ability levels. Some of them are races where you basically want to go to your level. But like I think what you may be hinting at is so this group endurance ride that I do called Wagner's Wagon on Thursdays. The intent is to basically do 3 hours of endurance riding, up to. Sometimes I extend it to 4 because I'm sick like that.
Oh my gosh!
And
I thought I was the only. I'm going to be honest, Justin. So I've done long trainer rides. I've never used Zwift before, but everybody's always looked at me like that was so weird. Now talking to a guy who consistently has done that, and at 4
every
a.m.
Thursday.
Oh my gosh! Wow, I'm very impressed.
Just
very
another
impressed.
Thursday. Yep.
so the what I was getting at is that endurance ride. We basically say, look, Justin's going to be setting a 3 watt per kilogram pace. And if you feel the need to shift your avatar's weight in order to stay in the draft, that's not a problem.
Yeah.
Got it.
Which is really nice, right? Because, like maybe I can't hold 3 watts per kilo, but if I can hold 2 and adjust my weight accordingly, and you guys even have some calculators, or used to have this, I don't know, it's been a while since I've been to the website, but you had some quick calculators so that you could help people get the right weight, right? You set you're setting your weight.
The Zwift group workouts actually would do this for you automatically. If you ever joined a group workout in Zwift, they will do this. So they keep the pack together no matter what people are doing. In fact, you could go 2,000 watts and you won't go off the front. Now, so you ask, well, why don't you just use that, Justin? Because the group workouts on Zwift only allow people to join late for up to 30 minutes. And with the wagon being 3 hours long, we get Europeans who are starting with us at 4 a.m. and then we get like East Coast and West Coast that wakes up and comes on. And there's guys that do 60 minutes, 90 minutes, whatever. They just kind of come and go. And so the fact that we could only have people late joining that official ride for 90 minutes or up to 30 minutes means we basically just run this thing like show up at this point at this time and let's ride. Like it's not in the official event list with Zwift.
Okay. Gotcha.
Because of that limitation with late joining.
Well, and I remember, and that group rides thing hasn't been around forever. So I think when I first looked at the ODZ thing, it was non-existent. So it's really interesting to see Zwift come along with all these different features, right? So they didn't have any sort of group rides. They didn't have events at all for a while, right? So it's just I was on like the beta list for Zwift a long time ago, and it was just like it just keeps evolving and it gets better. I really like Zwift a lot. So
I mean, events at the very beginning was somebody made a Facebook event that described everything, and they told it was like they organized flash mob, show up at the start line at this time and we'll hammer.
And it was their own website. There was like an event list that was separate from Zwift completely. So
totally,
Very cool. So the racing that you do on there, that's pretty prevalent. You're on the racing all the time, correct?
Yeah, I use it a lot for training. I find it's like I'll do structured interval training as well, but I really like just picking up on strategy and racing that you get from Zwift racing. If all you ever did was race on Zwift, that would be a problem. But I've found a good balance to supplement a bit of racing with my structured training.
Okay. So that said, in talking about what we were talking about with the adjustments on weight and whatnot for watts per kilogram, how is it that you guys police that? How is it that you or Zwift or whomever takes a look at this and says, all right, we're out here doing a race and this guy's obviously cheating? How do you guys address that?
That's a great question. So there is a very fiery discussion on this topic, and I will give you the boiled down condensed version, but basically they've set up some thresholds that once people start performing above those thresholds, flags start getting raised. And if you cross it enough times, your results on zwiftpower.com will start to automatically get said, you got to prove it. So what the proving process is, then you basically have to submit in real life race efforts, time trials, uphill TTs to basically say, look, I can do this in the real world. And so that's process. Basically, once you've gotten that, you get what's called a badge. So ZADA, Zwift Anti-Doping Authority.
Oh my gosh.
I'm not kidding. That's what it's called. They'll basically bless you, and and you'll be able to get those flags removed. So
is it about as corrupt as USADA, or is it a little bit more?
They're way less corrupt.
It's a very hard job for them to do. They're completely volunteers. There's no money involved.
That's cool.
And
That's out
they
there.
are very, they're complete process and engineer nerds, and they're trying to like remove themselves, make it so they don't know who it is or whatever, and all that good stuff. So is it perfect? No. And somebody could draft they'll basically look at an uphill effort and say, oh well, we can go to bikecalculator.com and see if that power even matches what you should have done for the time you did. You can reverse calculate all this stuff. And somebody could potentially fake it by drafting their wife or something in a truck or something, right?
Well,
there's no perfect. Right? They can't. There's so much they can do.
If you talk to any software developer, it would be so easy to manipulate any of this data, whether it's going into Zwift or even data that's going, from a live ride into Strava. It's all easy to cheat, which it's tough. But I think you put a group of engineers that they're going to look at past performances, and especially race performances where that's in real life races, and that stuff gets harder to cheat. So
Yep.
So
there's your long answer.
Yeah. How prevalent is it that people just fudge their weight, though? I mean, I'm going to go on the record and say I'm 182 pounds, but if I go on a race, how are you guys to know that I'm actually not, putting in 165, but I yet weigh 182, therefore my watts per kilogram is getting skewed?
Yeah, so one of the ways that's handled on ZwiftPower.com is they actually, every time you join a group ride or event, they basically log what your weight is.
Yep. And
so if somebody is always 180 and then all of a sudden at a race they're 160, that raises a flag.
Gotcha.
But if you've always said you're 160 pounds, the only system I know of that would ever say, well, no, you're actually much fatter, you're actually 180, would be if you showed up to the live CVR event where they have people weigh in and they set the weight for you and stuff.
Interesting. Okay. Well, that's good to know, and it's kind of neat to see that people are taking it somewhat seriously.
Yeah.
So, good stuff. Anything else in this past week? I know that we're still kind of on your Backpedal here. Anything else you want to chime in about this past week that you had going on?
We took the boys to a race over in Montana. It was a new race in Montana that kind of started up the Bearmouth Road Race. That was tons of fun, and we were able to. I got to drive behind the pack in the team van, which felt super cool. I wish I had a radio to yell in my guys' ears, but I didn't. And they were able to take the win in the 4-5 division, so that was
very cool,
pretty exciting. So
yeah. Okay. Well, we've got one more thing that I want to ask you about, but I'm going to table that just for a brief second here, and kind of give it its own little topic here, because I think it's kind of a cool thing. It's a little bit of a little road race that Justin's got his hands in. So we'll get to that in just a second here. As for me and my Backpedal, I'm going to keep this real short and sweet. It involved a lot of bandages, tegaderm, pain, and recovery. I can happily say, though, that I've gotten back on the bike, and I think this week will be the week that I kind of get back into my training program gently. So I'm coming around and healing up. So going to miss the one-horse road race that's coming up this weekend, but I'm putting all my sights on the state championship road race coming up on June 16th, if I'm not mistaken, and we've got the short track series starting up, too, so I'm looking forward to that. Okay, so let's get into that topic that we were just mentioning real quick about this little road race called the Liberty Road Race. And it's actually, if I'm not mistaken, the Washington State Road Racing Championships. And Justin's team is the main promoter. Justin, tell us about this race.
Yeah. So this race is a course that has actually existed before. And so it's well known. I'd say it's been at least I don't actually know how long it's been. I'm going to guess it's 5 years or so since the course has been used for racing. So that kind of helps us in promoting it, but we're super excited about it. WSBA is helping us by designating it the road race championships for both masters and senior categories. And something else we've done the same weekend is there's a crit the very next day in Post Falls. Now, it's not organized by us. It's actually a different group. But we coordinated the weekend so that those coming from out of town would have more incentive to come to the Spokane area to race, because they'll get the big road race on Saturday and then a crit on Sunday. So,
gotcha.
July 28th is the day.
Cool. And for our listeners who don't know what WSBA is, do you want to give us a little background on that?
Yeah. So WSBA is, I guess they're probably familiar with what OBRA is.
Yep.
There's obviously a big difference. WSBA is the local association of USA Cycling. So it stands for Washington State Bike Racing Association. It's not. The WSBA also stands for the Washington State Bar Association of Lawyers. So don't get it confused if you're Googling it, by the way.
I'd imagine that may be the first Google search.
Yeah. Very cool.
But yeah, so that's what WSBA is.
Yeah. Okay, and one more time, the date on the race?
Yeah, it is Saturday, July 28th, and we will stage at Liberty High School, which is just in between Spangle and Waverly in Washington. So it's about 30 miles south of Spokane.
Okay.
So if you're...
And folks who are interested, has pre-registration opened up?
Yes, pre-registration is open up. We have passed the early bird registration discount, but there is actually a discount for Dialed Cycling to actually get half off registration. We're pretty excited to offer that, help you guys out if you want to come up and race. And I think Jake's going to handle distributing that to the team.
Yep, we will do that.
So we've got a code for you. So if you want to get half off your race, and if you're looking to try to figure out, accommodations, a place to stay, pretty well connected in the area, and I'm more than happy to help you out if you're wanting to come up and need to figure that out. So
excellent. And for folks who are coming from, say, OBRA down here, the Oregon Bicycle Racing Association, or coming from out of state, will they need a USAC license, a United States Cycling license? Do you guys have one-day licenses available?
The one-day license I think you would need to do, and so the discount we're giving you there should definitely offset what that's going to cost you. I think registration is $50 for the race, and I think we gave you a $20 discount for the team. Mm-hmm. And I think the one-day license will cost you $10. I think. That sounds about right.
Not too shabby. So, if somebody is from the state of Oregon, can they come up and actually win the state championship for Washington, or do you have to be a Washingtonian to take that title?
That's a good question. I think they would actually give the jersey to whoever is the highest ranked WSBA member. But I would. I mean, if you beat them on the road but you didn't get the jersey, I mean, come on, that's way better than getting the jersey.
That's
come on.
That's
everyone's
semantics.
Gonna remember the fact that he didn't actually get first.
Yeah.
So
maybe we can sign it for him.
If you finish first. I mean, shoot, I'll make you your own jersey. So
what does the course look like, Justin? Like, what if you were describing what your training should look like leading up to that? What would you say?
So it's not a hilly course. It's a fairly flat with some rollers, and there's quite a bit of there's not a lot of tree cover. So if it's windy, it will be crosswind city. So that's kind of what the course looks like. You're looking at a 30-mile lap. And depending on your category, I think most categories are doing it 2 laps. So that's about 60 miles. And the upper categories are doing 3. And I think the very beginner women will do 1 lap. But it's there's a flyer. If you go to teamodz.com/liberty-road-race, it'll be on there. Or you can just go to teamodz.com and it should be hyperlinked through the menus to get there. But there's a whole flyer that describes, how long the race is, registration, all the gory details, link to register on USA Cycling. So
very cool. Well, I wish you luck with that. How is pre-registration looking? You guys starting to get some good entries?
I'm happy with it. I think, I've done my numbers to make sure I'm not going to be just eating fistfuls of cash to make this thing run. And I think we'll be solvent. So I think it'll run well. So
very cool. So, do you guys have any big sponsors or any sponsors you'd like to mention right now for their help? I know how much that helps an event and it helps a club or a team. Anybody in particular helping you guys out right now?
Yeah, so we've got Endurance 360, a sports supplement, helping us out. We've got Corda Fondo. We've got Showers Paths. You guys may know them. They're out of the Oregon area. They do a lot of weatherproof gear. They've got some gear they're handing out. Burrito Training, Cosmic Cowboy Grill out of Coeur d'Alene. The Endurance Lab is offering up a lot of free structured training for us to give out at the race. So yeah, lots of cool stuff, and all the sponsors are listed out on the race page if you want to learn more about what they offer. So
good, we do appreciate those sponsors. So, all right, let's get started on our first topic here, guys. The topic for today is recovery, and that's kind of a broad spectrum, and depending upon where you're at and what you're thinking about, I mean, that can be different kinds of recovery. I'm going through a different kind of recovery, and Justin, I think, is kind of on the same page as everybody else, than maybe somebody who's just out there hammering. So let's go through this. And Lance, since you've been a little bit quiet and you're on location, let's start with you. I want to hear a little bit about your recovery, because you're kind of going through two different kinds of recovery. You're coming back from an injury, and you're training a ton right now. What's recovery to Lance right now?
Well, it's always a tricky thing for me, because I just want to ride and have fun. I'm on my bike to have fun. I'm racing to have fun, and so I tend to ignore my recovery a little bit, which really isn't very smart. So, and I'm kind of working on that. But one of the things I do try to do, there's two things that I think are really important to me. And one is, when I immediately get done with the ride, trying to get some protein into my system to help with muscle building and muscle recovery. I think that is important for me. And the second thing I try to do is make sure I get enough sleep. Now, Justin just told us he survives on 5 hours of sleep a night. That would not work for me. So I try to get 7 or 8 hours of sleep a night. And I think those two things are kind of important for me. So that's kind of what I thought.
Now, Lance, you did have a period in your life, though, where you were probably surviving off of training with 5 to 6 hours a night, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. There was a stretch of 5 or 6 years there where, and it was probably when I was about Justin's age. Justin's 32 and I'm 48. And there were times there where I was surviving off of much less sleep, and in those instances I would really focus on the calories I was getting in and recovering from my hydration, and just making sure I got the right protein in my system too. So I think those are the things that helped me.
So when you're not hitting on all of those things properly, what are some of your biggest symptoms that like, oh crap, I better mind my P's and Q's here. I know that something's going to go sideways if I don't, because I'm starting to have these symptoms. What are those for you?
Two things. I cramp, like inadvertently, like laying there watching television, and all of a sudden my hamstring cramps, or my right foot cramps. Or I think I'm going to die because my toe is cramping and I can't get it to roll out. So that's one thing that I realize when I'm either underhydrated or I don't have enough electrolytes in my system. So cramping is one thing. The other thing that I notice, and I've mentioned it before, is my resting heart rate. I try to take my resting heart rate in the mornings, and it's kind of a sign of where I'm at in my recovery or my fitness. And usually my resting heart rate in the morning, first thing when I wake up, is about 45 beats per minute. And if that gets up to 50 or 55, I know that something is amiss. I'm either not sleeping well, I'm not recovering right, I'm not taking in the right nutritions, or I'm overtraining, something like that. And if it stays below 45, or less, that's usually a measurable sign that I'm not recovering right.
Have you, as you've aged, Lance? Now you have aged like a fine wine. Let me be clear there. But as you've aged, have you realized that you're more aware of those symptoms now? Do you respect them more, or are you still kind of making the same mistakes you were making before?
Oh, I'm just as stupid as I always was. No.
But you know it now, at least, right? You're more aware of it now.
I'm aware of my stupidity instead of just ignorant in my stupidity. So yeah, I try to be more, aware of that stuff and what works well for me and what doesn't. My body's different than I think other people's, and you kind of have to learn what works good for you and what doesn't. I don't need a lot of hydration on longer rides, especially in the Pacific Northwest, where we're usually not dealing with a lot of heat. And so I realize that and can kind of plan accordingly. But yeah.
Good stuff. Okay, Matt, how about you? What's recovery to you, bud?
Sure. Yeah. So I did a half marathon yesterday, and I was extremely undertrained. So I'm definitely looking at recovery strategies and trying to learn from Lance Romance, like what's the key. And I think he probably hit the nail on the head when he said, like, make sure you're getting sleep, pay attention to nutrition, drink lots of water, things like that. So I think that those are like probably the best things that you can do for recovery. I think for me, when I was younger, I would absolutely like never take a day off of training. And as I've gotten older, it's just not as big a deal. Like today I biked this morning and I'll swim, but I probably won't run for a couple days, maybe, even like 3 to 5 days completely off of running, and it won't faze me. Whereas when I was younger, I'd be like in bed with the flu and like still go out and run, like just absolutely ridiculous stuff. And I just think, just having time off from the sport, you're not going to lose that much fitness if you take a down week,
Yep.
So yeah, giving your body just a chance to recover as opposed to continuing to push. And then, some of the things that Lance said, like, yeah, sleep is probably the best thing that you can do to recover. So Justin, think about it. Give that sleep stuff. Just give it a try, man. Just every once in a while, try sleeping.
Justin's looking into his future with Lance here, so.
Justin's in the thick of it right now. Yeah. He's got young kids and a full-time job, and he's training as a P12 racer. So I get it, man. You got to give somewhere, and that's where you give. So.
Mm-hmm.
Justin, do you want to talk to us about recovery and if you ever even slot that into your regimen, other than the times where you're finding yourself broken and having to because you have no other choice?
Yeah. Oh man, the avenues I could go with this, but definitely, so when I'm normally training, I try to break my weeks up into like 2 halves. Like I'll do like really hard efforts like Monday, Tuesday, and then like recover Wednesday, and then go like hard Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I find that like only having 2 to 3 days where I'm just like going lots of either intensity or time or whatever it is, it helps break it up. Because if I'm trying to do 5 days straight of that, it just gets really mentally taxing. So that's a quick tip just on how to like break up your week. But I'll be honest, my recovery now was like, I was going to ride this morning and I woke up arm in a sling, kind of groggy. And I'm like, why am I doing a trainer ride at 5 a.m.? Like, it's going to be weeks before I can ride outside again. So I went back to bed. So that was my recovery this morning.
Good for you.
So I took your guys' advice on sleep this morning.
Yeah, we should have somebody press pause on your Zwift account. So like, go log in.
Go,
hey,
yeah. Just
wait.
lock him out. Yeah.
A little override on your kicker or your trainer, whatever it is that you're using these days. Very cool. Evan, talk to us about recovery. You're one that I really wanted to hear from because you look at this from a lot of different angles. You're helping people recover on a daily basis from injury, and then you're training as an athlete, and you're going through your own sorts of recovery.
Yeah.
Preach.
I think, oh God. Well, I think there's going to be a lot of hypocrisy coming out of my mouth right now because I've at least, as Lance says, Justin's in the thick. I'm in the thick of young making stupid decisions with training on a consistent basis and have been probably for the last 6 years. And I think I'm getting a little bit smarter with it now, but yeah, I preach to as many of my patients and anybody who's listening to this knows I treat a lot of triathletes, cyclists, and runners, and I'm all about the not ever taking pure time off, as in, you know, I'm not a fan of ever telling a runner or an injured cyclist, all right, let's shut it down for 2 to 3 weeks. It's bring the stimulus way, way down and kind of reset, but never take pure time off. And I don't always take that advice myself. I find it funny, Matt mentioned this a little bit earlier, the training while sick. Yeah. My cure for the flu for myself is to drink a couple gallons of water and go for a run usually.
Yeah, sweat it out,
which being a medical professional, I know is ridiculous and not true and is a terrible idea, but it's worked for me. But I would definitely say the biggest thing with recovery, and Justin, I think you dabbled in the mental part of it a little bit. I'll speak from the triathlon portion. It can be exhausting there's 3 sports there, and I think we like to think that if I'm not doing a hard run or bike today, I can do a hard swim.
Right.
Next day, okay, I won't do the hard swim. Swim will be easy. I'm going to do a hard run. And all of a sudden, I'll realize that I just did 3 months of training where 6 days out of the week, there was some interval workout, sometimes 7 days, 20 straight days of interval workouts, and not realizing that there's a neuromuscular recovery that needs to go on and a mental recovery, because intervals are hard no matter what sport you're doing, whether you're a runner, a cyclist, or a swimmer. Doing 10 by 100 or 10 by 1 minute on the bike or 10 by 400 on the track. Those are all mentally taxing events that you go through.
So we've talked about stress before, and you used the example of you have one cup in life. Cup. You don't get like a cup for work and cup for training, a cup for family. The same concept. You've got one cup and you've got 3 sports.
Yep.
Not 3 cups.
Has to fit in there. You nailed on the head there, Jake. And that's, I think, the biggest thing I try to stress to, especially my triathlon patients, because I think just growing up with my mother too, who was always training very hard, whether it was for ultra running or triathlon. I sort of realized, and I try to tell her this, and it's funny, I'm definitely her son because I fall into the same pattern sometimes, but once that life stress picks up, you have to look at your training and adjust it, because there's, training needs to be the thing that comes down, because sleep, family, and job tend to be more important probably in the grand scheme of life. But I think recovery-wise, talking specifics, and it's fun, I just went to a certification course for blood flow restriction training, which will be something in a later podcast I'll bring up and talk about. But the biggest thing that they were talking about this training is the importance of protein after these bouts. And they were talking about through this style of training, but it definitely applies to any endurance sport too, is you've got to make sure that you're looking at nutrition, you're looking at sleep, because you don't want to be the guy who puts in a 24-hour training week and then does not get to reap the benefits of that, which is tough. Yeah, you don't want to break yourself down and then realize that you just spent a month of hard training and did not race where you wanted to be at. So
that's good advice. For me, one of those things is you really have to listen to your body, and you've got to be tuned into that. And if you have a hard time with that, then you've got to seek, counsel of professionals or a coach, or listen to your peers who basically you value their input, that have been doing this for a long time. And for me, it's taking a big heaping dose of that medicine right now, because all I want to do is go ride my freaking bike, and I want to get back to training because I got so many things that I want to work on right now. And I'm not that hurt. I don't have anything that I have to wait like a prescribed amount of time. It's more of just like I need to listen to my body. And you guys have been giving me sound advice, and I've been trying to heed said advice, and I'm really chomping at the bit to get back out there. But I think I'm doing an okay job of listening, and I really stress to people out there who are dealing with a physical injury. Listen to the people around you. Listen to the people who've gone through this before. Listen to the professionals. But then there's also the people who are training, and they're training themselves into a hole. I mean, they're really starting to show signs of overtraining. And you've got here's a little list of symptoms. You're drained. You've got muscle soreness that's beyond normal. You're dealing with general pain. You're dealing with insomnia. Your performance is decreasing. You're getting headaches, irritability, decreased enthusiasm for your sport. I mean, definitely if you're dealing with that, you know that you're doing
that's
it too
a big
much.
one. Yeah.
Increased incidence of injury. Things are just starting to break down. You've got a compulsive need to train. gosh, I need to.
Is there anybody here in this podcast that does not have a compulsive need to train right now?
And I think one more that you can add to this list is depression. So, I mean, if any of these things like kind of struck a chord with you, or a little bell, a little ding goes off in your head, just stop and take a look. And you know, when was the last time you had an active recovery week, or just at least a block of a few days that you've put together so that you can give your body some time to recuperate? So ask yourself those questions. We're going to decline that. Sorry about that. And then a few other things that you might want to just put on your radar is, you know, just rest and recovery. You've got to have that built in, obviously. Hydration, we've touched on that a few times. Making sure that you guys are getting ample hydration is very important. And that's, you know, something with the summer months coming up. Make sure that you're paying attention to that. Look into some sport massage. I think that there's some benefit there as well. Yeah. Certain times of the year too, cross train. And for a cyclist that's in a very linear sport and doing the same thing all the time, cross train. I will like to mix it up with the mountain bike a little bit, because I think you kind of elicit different muscle groups and do things a little bit differently. But it's not going to kill you. It's not the end of the world if you take some time off and go out there and do something different. Go hiking. You know, go hit the gym for a little bit. You know, find that time in your schedule that you're doing something else other than that particular sport. And then again, just working in active recovery. Just you know, be active. You know, kind of scratch that itch of wanting to be doing something. Don't just go sit on the couch, but you know, look at building some active recovery into your schedule so that you can you know, let your body do its thing and heal.
And I think going back to the muscle spasms, since we have, well, I'm not going to include myself into that conversation, but Lance and Jake, who seem to have problems with that. I only once did, and God, I feel your guys' pain. That was, as soon as those came on for me, I was like, wow, I have no idea how you guys deal with that. But I think realizing there's a little bit of debate around this, but there was a time period where Gatorade put together a lot of quote unquote sponsored research that said cramping was purely a hydration issue, an electrolyte imbalance. So what cramping truly is, and what the research has pointed to as well, is it's mostly a muscular fatigue issue and a neuromuscular fatigue. So there's, you know, just muscle tearing is just the beginning of that fatigue. There's obviously a big neuro impact of muscle contractions too, especially during intervals and higher impact exercises. And that fatigue needs to be your main concern. So the difference between that and hydration is people may get the idea that if I'm muscle spasming, if I just hydrate, I can go hard again tomorrow. That's not respecting the recovery process. If you are having active, you know, spasms and fatigue while you're even sleeping and trying to get up the next day, you've got to treat that, just as Lance noted that was one of his symptoms, that, hey, maybe the next 48 hours need to be easy and recovery and cross-train maybe, and not, you know, murder my quads another interval set. So, yeah.
I didn't say that I was smart, Evan. I made that pretty clear.
Lance may be the smartest guy on this podcast too, so I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah. Just one other thing you can do. Again, we talked about working with a coach, and a good way to manage that is to work with a coach who understands what rest is, what recovery is, and how to build that into a cycle. And actually, you know, you don't absolutely positively have to work with them, but start looking into periodization. And basically, that's just the organization of your training schedule. And there's a few different ways that you can take a peek at that. And you know, you've got your macro cycle that you're going to look at for the entire year. Then you can break that down into smaller blocks of time, like mesocycles that could be anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks, what have you. And then you've got your microcycle, and that's just looking at things from a weekly basis. And you have basically a prescribed, well thought out, organized procession of how your week is going to play out. And there should be some rest that's built into that. So it's not go out there and just hammer every single day.
And it's like rest at the microcycle, the macrocycle, and the mesocycle. You want recovery, you know, different types of recovery, you know, at all the different spots. And active recovery, you guys mentioned a couple times, fantastic. I really, one of my favorite things to tell my runners, because I coach running, is, hey, go have a fun run where you go and you try to find a new trail. Or and so same thing for cycling, right? Go find some place, like you and I do this a lot, where we're like, hey, where's this road go? I don't know. Let's take this one. And that's not hard biking. It's not interval cycling.
It's exploratory,
That's just that's just having fun. And I feel like that's probably one of the nice ways to do that active recovery. So it might be a tool that you guys can use if you're looking for recovery.
Cool.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to touch on that Jake mentioned in terms of like scheduling it and like forcing yourself to do it. And I have just a quick thing I want to touch on that point, if you guys will allow me, if we've got a minute to discuss it.
Say it again. Preach.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the way I forced myself into active recovery was on Wednesdays, I said I was doing recovery. I actually started hosting like a group ride on Zwift that was advertised like 1.5 watts per kilo, like super low. Like, like some people it might be hard for, but most people is very low. And it's 30 minutes long. And what we did was it became a teaching session. I literally, while writing it, I would live broadcast teaching about training with power. So you can look up on the web, What's Up with Power, WUWP, and there's a whole video series we've made of teaching people the basics of training with power that all stemmed from I'm doing active recovery on Wednesdays, and how am I going to force myself to it? And because I'm such a busybody, I couldn't just stare at Zwift and keep myself to 1.5 watts per kilogram. I had to force myself. So I had to be able to talk, go through show notes, and keep the group with me. And like that all forced me to do my active recovery. Anyway, a little bit of an extreme example, but the point is you force yourself to do the active recovery. Maybe you do the shop ride with the grandmas.
Yeah.
Totally. I mean, I don't know what it is, right?
Absolutely.
Leave the grandma shop ride.
Yeah, we have something that's something similar. And before I talk about that, that's a good way to like know yourself and know how you can kind of put that governor on yourself. And the way that we do it and what works out really well for us around here is there's some local folks that they're super, super cool people, Robin and Kevin, and they put on a ride on Thursdays called the Ice Cream Ride. And it actually starts back up this coming Thursday.
Cool. Yeah.
So we'll go out, we'll do the ice cream ride around, Vancouver, Washington area. And it's just a super casual, completely social ride. And, Matt and I will go do it together quite often. We'll just kind of cruise out there and, we'll end up getting, it's not really a total active recovery ride, because sometimes we'll get like 40 or 50 miles out of it. But the pace, the pace really dictates the fact that it's a social recovery ride. Right. And I think we average about 15, 16 miles an hour, which is pretty simple. So
and it's just conversational, right? Like you're there to meet people, you're there to conversate, and it's super nice. It's fun when we have time.
Build those into your schedule, folks. It does wonders. And it's actually kind of fun too to actually carry a conversation with people, get to know some new people, and just kind of take your foot off the accelerator for a ride. So anybody else have anything that they'd like to chime in on with respect to recovery?
Sometimes I'll do some easy exercises with my patients. That's about it. It's long work days every once in a while. So.
Right. Okay, let's jump into topic number 2, and this one's going to be a little bit more fun. There is a set of rules that has governed the cycling world for some time now, and I want to say, was Eddie Merckx a part of the original version of this, and it's kind of been built upon over the years?
I think it was inspired by Belgians.
I think it was definitely inspired by Merckx, but I don't think he was, it's probably after his time.
Toss that into the Arizona Mission segment for another time. But
it is Belgian. I do know that. It is Belgian inspired.
Oh, so you've got the, it's called the Velominati, and I think I said that right. And you can check it out at Velominati or Minati. Or
we might just want to spell that.
VELOMINATI.com. So it's called The Rules. So I've said it like 5 different ways this past week as it came into the radar. I was talking about it. But basically what it is, it's the rules of cycling. And I wanted to run through this with everybody. And there's some stuff on there that I think is golden, and then for me, there's some stuff on there that I think is just absolutely garbage. So I wanted to kind of toss it around, and I have a sneaking suspicion a couple of mine are going to get used up. So I've got a big list, and I'll save myself for last. Lance, let's start with you. What are some of your favorites, and what are some of the ones that you really dislike on there?
There's 3 on there that stand out to me. The first one is rule number 5, which is
you took mine.
This one is referenced everywhere, right?
Yes. Yeah, most people know just rule 5.
HTFU. It means harden the F up, and it's. I think that speaks for itself. It just means to quit pansying out, be a little tougher than you think you are. So it's not quite PC, especially for a good Mormon boy like me, but it speaks to me. So that one kind of hits me. The next one is rule number 10, which is it never gets easier, you just go faster.
Yep.
So Again, it has to do with training and volume, and you think, oh, the more I get in shape, the better off I'm going to be. And no, you just train harder when you're clearly look at Justin and what he's done. He's jumped into this thing and has just progressed very quickly. I can't even keep up with him virtually on Zwift. It's embarrassing, but that's okay.
and neither on Zwift.
And that was a Greg LeMond
I was
quote.
about to say the same thing. Yeah, I think it is a Greg LeMond quote.
Yeah, that's a LeMond quote.
Yes. Yeah. So some of these are like you'll have these rules and things like that we always joke about and stuff like that, but it's just like some famous cyclist says this, or these are just funny things that people have kind of come across and said this needs to be on the rules list. So.
Yeah. What are some of your dislikes, Lance?
The one, and I do this on purpose just because it's funny, is rule number 28, which is socks can be any dang color you like.
I saw that one.
So our dialed cycling kits are orange, and so they're orange and black. And so it's easy to have socks to match all that. But I purposefully showed up at a group ride last week with green Argyle socks that matched nothing, and I did it just to annoy a teammate. So maybe I shouldn't be so sarcastic in my personal life.
You can tell them to check the rules. I mean, if you're following the rules, it's good. There's a clear rule: sock color, free reign.
So those are the three I wanted to mention.
Good stuff. All right, Justin, did you come up with any for the likes and dislikes?
Yeah, well, I've got a dislike, and there's a story behind why I dislike it. Big climb nearby that I had went up the first time, Mount Spokane. It's like a 3,500, 4,000 foot climb here, and I was super stoked with myself. I got to the top early on in my career, and of course, put my bike above my head and took a photo and made it my Strava. I was just proud of it. Like, yeah, I'm on top of the world. And like one of the first Strava comments was, "You broke rule number 95." And I was like, screw your rules.
Who knows?
I want the picture. So the rule number 95 is never lift your bike above your head. The only exception is when placing it onto a car's roof rack. So
I photoshopped a car in there. Yeah.
See, I'll agree with you on that. What if, didn't Wiggins, when he broke the hour record on the track, the first thing he did, I think, was pick up his bike and put it above his head. You see guys win races. There's got to be exceptions to that. Like,
yeah. I'm officially submitting the rule removal form right now.
I think you should, because that rule is bogus.
Yeah, that's fun. Anything else, Justin?
Oh, that's it.
All right. Matt, how about you?
Sure. Yeah. I think these rules are super fun, so they're fun to discuss. You might hear us even just briefly mention like the N+1 problem. And for people that, are listening to the podcast and they're not like super, super into cycling, if you hear a cyclist say, oh yeah, how many bikes do you have or whatever, and it's always like N+1, what they're referring to, and this is on the rule list, I think it's around number 12, but it's like the idea that however many bikes you have, +1 is how many bikes you need. So how many bikes you're looking to, it's always N+1. So it's kind of a little bit of a joke kind of amongst cyclists, like, oh, you're always in need of another bike. And then you take that to the spouse or whomever it is, and it's like, yep, like, well, how many shoes do you have? Well, I need another bike. So so there's that, and I figure our listeners should know what N+1 is referring to if we talk about it randomly within the podcast.
And the upper limit, you know the upper limit to that, right? Of N+1.
Please inform.
The upper limit is S-1.
S-1.
S represents the number of bikes owned that would result in separation from your partner.
Yeah.
I've heard S-1 is also how many bikes you own that you tell your spouse, correct? Yeah. Is that what it is?
Yeah. I actually came on this road trip and I brought 3 bikes with me and only 1 dog. So go figure. Right?
That's funny.
Are you saying you've reached S, Lance?
I think I may.
You're close.
No, I'm not. No, I'm nowhere close. I've got lots more. I left my wife at home and I brought the dog. Maybe that's
there's
a good thing.
With 3 bikes, there's only limited room for actual, people in the cars.
That's right. They're all in the back of the truck.
There you go.
So in the show notes here, I'm just now noticing that for that particular topic that there's a little typo, and it should say rules we don't. Are there rules out there that you guys don't like, that you guys vehemently say, you know what, that rule just sucks?
There's sock length, right? So I'm a triathlete, but then you have this like, so you have these issues, right, where it's like, I feel, and it's just one of those things, like you have runners and they kind of they have these tendencies to wear their socks a certain length. You have triathletes that sometimes don't wear socks, and then you have cyclists that kind of have, I feel like there's like the sweet spot for cyclist socks. Yep. And so I don't know. I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with it. It's just one of those things where it's like a culture of sock length, which is weird.
These rules create, I think, an environment of prejudice against triathletes
and any non-cyclists.
And me actually, having come from both worlds, I'm feeling very, attacked by some of these. So,
rule number 33, I have a big problem with. It's shave your guns.
Yeah, I saw that. Yep.
Legs are to be carefully shaved at all times, and I have made it clear that I'm anti-shaving, although I am. Maybe if I had shaved my legs on Monday, I wouldn't have taken third place. Maybe I would have won, but let's not think about that.
I think you'd be faster on Zwift if you shaved your legs.
I think so too.
It's actually the one place where that's the only aerodynamic advantage you might have. That's the only part of your body that's actually moving through the air.
That is true. You can leave your arms though, Lance. Don't worry. You don't need to touch your arms on Zwift.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll say for me, rule, and this is I'm an anatomy nerd out here for a second. So rule number 20, there are only 3 remedies for pain. So the third remedy I agree with, and it says reference back to Rule 5 if there's any questions, which we addressed later or earlier what that is. The other 2 are, if your quads start to burn, shift forward to use your hamstrings and calves, and if your calves and hamstrings start to burn, shift back to use your quads. Speaking from somebody who's done an in-service on muscular activity and EMG studies during cycling, that is absolutely 100% wrong. Like there's equal, the muscle activity really has a little bit less to do with actually exactly where you're sitting on the saddle than people might think. It's more to do with what muscular group is actually fatiguing out and what compensatory pattern you want to use, basically. And also like where your pelvis is sitting. So I think that's a big simplification of the cycling process there, to say, if your quads are hurting, shift back and don't worry, you'll be fine.
It's just that easy. 200 miles in, all you have to do is
you just got to shift back and forth the whole time and you'll be fine. Yeah. I was going to say, anybody who's, I'm sure on that 200-mile ride you guys were doing there, if something was fatiguing out, I don't think that shifting slightly was going to give your hamstrings that much of a break.
All right. Well, I've got a couple that I'd like to throw on the list that I like. I kind of alluded to this last week, kind of governing yourself in terms of, just don't be an a-hole in life in general and on the bike. Yeah. So, you can do that by leading by example. That's rule number 2. You can, rule number 3 is guide the uninitiated to a certain degree. I mean, I'm not going to talk to them and tell them that they need to follow every single one of these rules, but you can definitely get them going and get them pointed in the right direction. And another one, rule number 19, introduce yourself. Pretty much just create conversation, make friends, man. It's a good community. We don't have to be, the elitist a-hole out there that you're too cool for school to talk to other people. Those are a couple quick and simple things we as cyclists can do to enhance our community. There's another one that's really funny. I like taking pictures of my bike, and if you go and look at my pictures, 9 times out of 10, my bike is staged a certain way because of this particular rule. It's rule number 26, make your bike photogenic. So typically speaking, you'll find my bike in the big ring. You'll find my crank arm pointing forward at a parallel to the ground, and it'll be staged and it will be captured beautifully so that the bike is the focal point of the picture. So there's another one on here that I think is actually functionally, it's a very good idea. It's never ride without eyewear. Have you guys ever ridden without eyewear and had a very large bug bounce off your eyeball?
Ugh. Yes, and I actually race without eyewear now too, so I should not be the one talking on this subject. I'm a hypocrite.
So from time to time in the past, I mean, I would basically ride without eyewear. And we used to, when I lived down in Southern California, we do a lot of nighttime rides because there's a lot of bike paths and areas that we could ride safely. And you're not gonna wear sunglasses. And it was dusk, and I had the biggest beetle bounce off my eyeball, where my whole eye like went dark for like a brief moment. I'm like, oh my God, that hurts so bad. Please don't go blind. And from that day forward, I've always worn eyewear. Maybe just one or two times that I haven't. But if it's at nighttime, I'm riding with clear lenses now. But it's kind of a safety thing. You know, there's stuff that can hit your eyes. And if you're traveling at 30, 40, 50 miles an hour, you don't want to lose an eye just because that. And not for nothing, but if that happens, it's going to shock you, and you could potentially go down. And trust me, folks, you don't want to hit the road going that fast. Your body just it's not meant to slap the road that fast. Or at all. So
there are also other causes of extreme eye pain while riding, and I think one of these rules hints on it. Rule number 15: black shorts should always be, or no, rule number 14: shorts should always be black. White shorts.
Oh, I always wear white shorts after I swim.
I don't know about this.
Eye strain on those around you.
We might have to have a discussion. I mean, so black, I get it, but what if you're rocking red shorts, orange shorts? I mean, what if Dialed wanted to throw out a little bit like an away jersey, like they get a little bit more color into it?
What if I just swam
make sure you wear
white?
the away jersey when you're away from me.
So this is where anybody who follows these rules as a cyclist, if you went to a triathlon like a race, you just be. I mean, for gosh sake, like I think Jan Frodeno races in a one-piece white. His razor, I'm pretty sure his kid is a white. Yeah, it's
wow.
Has anybody even validated that all these rules are congruent? Do any of them conflict each other?
That's a good question.
Well, here you go. Rule number 43: don't be a jackass. And there's quite a few things in here. If you're going to do that, it makes you quite the jackass. So like.
But it says if you absolutely must be a jackass, be a funny jackass.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Well, here's a dislike that I don't like, and it's rule number 11. Family is basically the rule. Let me go and read the rule exactly. It says family does not come first; the bike does. Sorry, I'm just gonna have to say no.
Yeah, and I think that these are largely meant to be sarcastically humorous.
But here's the thing: some folks are going to take this literal.
Think people, I think more people than not take these rules a little bit too seriously. Yeah, maybe not more people than not, but I've seen quite a few people take these rules to the nth degree.
Right. Yeah.
There's also I'm going to toss one that I really do like here is Rule 6: free your mind and your legs will follow. Kind of like a yogi mentality there.
Yeah.
I like that because in this era. So I think the thing I like most about the Belgian culture of cycling is it does try to take us away from that purely numbers-based look at data sort of cycling approach to, like we talked about, like doing the no watch run or the no data ride once a week. It kind of goes after that and saying like, remember why you got into cycling is because even when you're doing intervals, if you're just going hard on a bike, it's fun. Going fast on a bicycle is fun. And I think we need to remember that. And I think Rule 6 kind of addresses that it's, we talk about numbers quite a bit. We talk about FTPs on here, but just riding fast can be fun.
Yeah.
Yep. How about let's see here, the stuff, just storing everything in your jersey, basically. No saddlebags. How do you guys feel about that one?
I always do that. I never carry a saddlebag. Never do a saddlebag.
I don't know. I mean, I think there's a lot of people that will say like, don't put a bike pump, frame pump. I think it's got to be one of the rules. I assume it's one of the rules.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't know. I saw Chris Froome had a frame pump on his training. I mean, like there's real good reasons to have a frame pump on your thing. And it's like, don't take these rules too seriously. Like, I mean, if it's easy to put stuff on a saddlebag, do it. If it's easier to put it in your jersey, do it. If it's easier to have a frame pump, do that. If you want to have like, fenders and lights and reflectors on your spokes, that's like, I don't care. Like, as long as you want to ride, like, that's good. Yeah. I mean, I'm happy.
I can get it when it comes to racing, but I agree with Matt there as well. And then,
bag can protect you from jokes and practical jokes from your teammates. There's been many practical jokes where they stick things in your saddlebag when you're not watching. Either There are large rocks that happen to me at team camp, or other, how do I describe, things used that would be very embarrassing if you pulled them out in certain contexts. Certain people. So even you get a flat. Yeah. Anyway, so that might be a good reason to not use a saddlebag.
That's funny.
But,
yeah. And my last one, I'll go through this last one, and if anybody else has anything to add to that, that's fine. But never get out of the big ring. Come on, man.
Oh no, I've actually tried to. I used to have a buddy who I would ride with, who we would try and follow that one. We would follow that to a T, and I mean to the point where like we're almost falling on some Ohio Valley hills, and it's dumb. It's the dumbest rule ever. It's not efficient.
If you're
it's
going
terrible.
out just trying to have fun on a ride, but if you follow that in general for all of your rides, there are so many things that just scream dumb and just ridiculous about that. I mean, from it has no purpose to you're going to wreck your bike. I mean, you're going to cross chain to the max and you're tearing up these teeth. It's just so dumb.
Wait, you guys have more than one ring?
Oh. All right, Mr. Watts per kilogram FTP guy.
Not all of us are putting out. You know, we haven't asked that question. Justin, what is your FTP? Do you want to drop that for us?
He might not want to mention that.
I know.
No, Justin, that's kind of like, though. Yeah, that's a personal question. You don't have to answer that.
You want to know before or after the wreck?
Before.
It starts with a 4. Let's just leave
Oh
it at that.
my gosh. Oh boy. Impressive.
I think mine's 95. So.
Mine starts with a 4 also, but it's just two digits. It's 2 digits.
40.
Very cool.
So I will reference also, as I was saying, some of these rules are prejudice against triathletes. I actually found the most prejudiced rule here, and I thought I knew these pretty well. Rule number 42. A bike race shall never be preceded with a swim and or followed by a run. I'm not sure what that's referencing, but it could be referencing a triathlon.
Might be making fun of triathletes.
It may be.
Fair
I think
enough.
it may be.
Un poquito, yes.
Hey, a lot of people don't want to try to be athletes. They just be athletes.
There you go.
Hey, I'm never claiming triathlon or triathletes.
All right. Well, good times. Good times.
Now that I've offended half of the people on the show.
Oh, yeah. and ourselves.
All right. On that note, let us get into our last bit here, and that's the one last thing. We're going to shoot this around the table and let everybody kind of have their one last thing. Matt, what's your one last thing?
So, I posted a video to the YouTubes on Friday, and it was just like totally random, like taking the, I guess it's the speed suit that we got, the team speed suit, and I took it out to some like flat roads out of Vancouver Lake, which is just this, there's some flat roads out there. It's 4 miles out and back, like an 8-mile little stretch, and I compared the speed suit to a t-shirt and baggy shorts, which is ridiculous, right? And it was over 8 miles, and I just said, okay, well, I'm going to try and hold the exact same wattage, hold the same position. So, and I know this is not science, guys. Like, this is not real. But it was definitely for fun and definitely funny. I actually had some random person, like, come up and bike up next to me and just, like, look at me like I was crazy, which I am. But I'm putting this out there to you guys that are on the podcast here. 8 miles at 200 watts. What do you think your gains are by switching from a t-shirt and baggy shorts to a speed suit?
3 minutes.
Okay, 3 minutes. It's only 8. So the 8 miles is
8 miles.
It's only 8 miles.
How baggy were the shorts? I'm picturing very baggy shorts.
My t-shirt was probably it's not super baggy, like a medium. I probably should have worn like an even baggier t-shirt. And then the shorts, I didn't have like a really baggy pair of basketball shorts, which is what I was really hoping to have.
That's what I'm picturing.
But it's running shorts, but they're the longest running shorts that I could find. So
I have to recuse myself. I'll watch the video.
Oh, okay. Lance?
30 seconds.
Okay. Justin, do you want to wager?
Can I ask some clarifying questions?
Yes, you may. Absolutely.
How much heavier? What is the weight difference between the clothes? What's the average gradient? What's the CDA?
Okay.
Oh.
My CDA. Good question.
I might be at.
You can start calculating it.
Right now.
So I think the important part of those questions were there's almost no hills whatsoever. It's completely flat.
Okay.
And then I have no idea what the weight difference was with the t-shirt.
You didn't weight
and
it
shorts.
in. Come on.
I should have. I did put the t-shirt and shorts on top of the speed suit.
His legs are shaved too, by the way.
My legs are shaved
right now. Arms are
position
not shaved.
Position was pretty good, and then the power was almost exactly 200 watts for both rides. So take a guess.
Well, I'll take a guess. I'm going to go with 42.
42 seconds?
The answer. the answer to life, universe, 42. And everything. 42.
Okay, it was 72 seconds. So, yeah, pretty good.
Yeah. So if we're playing by Price is Right rules, I win, right? Cool. There you go.
Yes.
I'll take the car.
What do you win?
A new
car. Windshield wiper blade. So that was fun.
Yeah, it was. It was a good little video.
Yeah.
I really dig those. I actually get alerts on my phone now. It pops up and says, Matt LeGrand posted a new video.
It's a lot of time. So like, and I mentioned this, it's like a lot of our listeners, like they're going to either be wearing like a race cut jersey or whatever. Like they know this stuff. But a lot of the people that I see at triathlons, and especially like the sprint triathlons and things like that, they are wearing like the t-shirts and the basketball shorts and stuff like that. And I'm like, it's not just 72 seconds when you're out there racing. It's a couple minutes because you're racing longer. So it's just it's a lot of time.
Gotcha.
A lot of free time out there.
It is.
All right, because I'm looking at him, Evan, how about you? One last thing.
So the Blue Lake Triathlon is coming up. I will be there supporting proactive physical therapy. We're going to have a tent this year, or at least that's the plan. So anybody who needs a little help before the race or probably after the race too, or just wants to come up and talk about, getting a running gait analysis scheduled for you or anything like that, or coming into the clinic and seeing me, because this is the time of year where everybody, including people at this table, seem to be getting injured and getting knocked out, just different knocks and dings. So absolutely come and see me. I think I'll race. I'm pretty sure I'm going to race. Okay. My goal is just to be there more as the physical therapist that day. Not that I'm making excuses. If I'm racing, I will be racing as hard as I can. But yeah, we'll see. So, Matt, are you going to be there?
Yeah, I'm planning. I'm already signed up, I think, and
Derek is going to be there. I'm
not gonna crush it. But I'm gonna participate and I'll go hard. I mean, I always, because it's fun to go hard. But we'll see.
Cool. All right.
Good stuff. Lance, on location. One last thing, buddy.
I've got a Justin Wagner story. Do you want to hear that?
We do?
Yeah, we do.
Yes.
So a couple years ago, I've actually only ridden with Justin once, and it was during the Seattle to Portland ride. We talked about it a little bit before we went on the air. It's a 200-mile ride from Seattle to Portland, and Justin was hoping to put together a group that would average above 20 miles per hour for the ride. And I did not do the whole thing. I think Matt and Jake were both on the ride. Weren't you guys both there?
I was there, just slightly behind you guys.
Okay.
I mean, could have been inches, could have been. It's hard to say how far back I was. I mean, no one knows.
What I
72
did
seconds. 72 seconds.
Yeah.
72 seconds.
Is that t-shirt and shorts? I shouldn't have done that.
So I had been fairly busy that week, and so I couldn't go up to start the ride with the group. So I just jumped in with 90 miles left and just kind of.
You said 100 before the show.
Yeah, I'm trying to
it's getting longer and longer.
Work on my honesty, which I seem to struggle with. So it's Hepler standard deviation. I've talked about that a lot on this show. So I think it was about 90 miles. With about 90 miles to go, I jumped in with the group, and I don't know, what was there, 8 or 10 guys left at that point. And I jumped in, and I was fresh, and they were 110 miles in, and so
that's fair.
I started pulling pretty hard to help the group, and sure enough, within like 10 miles, somebody flatted, and I can't remember if it was me or if it was Justin. I think it was Justin.
It was me.
Yeah, Justin flatted, and the group went off. And so he changed it very quickly. It was 3 or 4 minutes. It was very quick. And
Impressive.
I stopped to stay with him because I was fresh, and I thought I will help pull Justin back to the group. And so he gets his tire changed. We jump back on, and I immediately start hammering to try to close this 3-minute gap or whatever. Granted, the rest of the group were soft pedaling, so they had not tore up the road, because I think they wanted Justin in the group because he was very strong. So I am hammering up the road, and Justin is behind me on my wheel, and he is like, "Hey, settle down, little boy. don't just, we're going to catch him. Don't, just settle down just a little bit." And I'm like, "Oh, I really don't know what I'm doing out here. Just stick on my wheel, Justin. I'll pull you back." That's my Justin story. He called me out, and I needed it. So
that's awesome.
I do remember that. Do remember it. Appreciate it.
You bet.
Good stuff.
He didn't do all the work to get us back to the pack. I just want to be clear. We did
That's not how I remember it.
Yeah, well, we're gonna have to check the tapes on that one.
Oh, cool stuff. All right, Justin. One last thing from you. What you got?
So a corollary to that story, the one last thing is I'm thinking Jake totally signed up to have a ringer for the last 100 miles of the ride to make sure we nailed this thing. What a genius man. And like, that was like this is so awesome. They were coordinated. They had like, they were doping with like staged guys to only like help them pace along. I was like, this is genius.
Yeah, that's like mechanical doping there. That.
So
yeah,
that's my one last thing.
Yeah. We also have my wife too run support for us. Wow. She was running the support vehicle.
Was she doping you guys with burritos?
Yes, she was. Tossing burritos and water bottles. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that was a fun day. It was and don't sell it short, Lance. It wasn't 200 miles. It was 205.5 or something like that.
Thank you.
Those 5 matter.
Yeah. Sorry, those 5 matter.
I'm even gonna call it 206 just for the sake of.
Well, there was one last tidbit to that story where if anybody's done the event, you'll know that like the last couple miles are like stoplights.
Yeah.
And like single bike wide with like flowers, pots on the side and stuff. Like you just can't really battle it out. But of course, Jake and I were in the front and like we're both wanting to battle it out. And technically, Jake did cross the finish line first, but I was not given an opportunity to safely contest it. So Jake posted chicken dinner, and I think I said group chicken dinner on his ride. So.
It was edited quickly. It was chicken dinners. It was a collective referral to the group. That group that was a fun group. That was a special day, and that was an accomplishment, man. Our goal was 20 miles an hour average speed. We finished at 21.5, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And
we just barely missed 10 hours total time.
Yeah,
and we were I had plans to get under 10 hours total time this year. I think that's taking a backseat to shoulder surgery. I don't know.
And that was the elapsed time. Our moving time was 9 hours and 31 minutes, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
So during the course of that entire day, we were only down, not moving for 30 minutes. And some of that was sitting at stop signs or stoplights and things of that nature too. So when you factor in like all of that stuff over the course of the entire day.
And I had 2 flats.
And he had 2 flats.
Yeah.
So we worked hard that day, and I think we all slept pretty well that night too. So good stuff. All right, my one last thing is pretty much just our socials. We've talked about us posting stuff up on the website, and I'm actually going to say no, we're not. We're just going to post podcasts there. If you want to go listen to the podcast on our website, the Dial Podcast. For right now, it's super simple, and we're just going to put things on Facebook. So go to Facebook and go to Instagram. Those are 2 good places that you can go, and we'll post up videos. I'm going to post up all of Matt's videos that he's put up on YouTube. We've got the little bike wreck that I was in. I just recently put that up. So if you want to go to the at Dial Podcast Facebook page, you can check it out there.
We
It's
need
on
a video
Instagram
of
too.
Justin. We need a video of you guys. We need a video of all these different crashes.
Yeah, so we'll reference that, and then you can go there and find a bunch of Lance's pictures. He's got a ridiculous bunch right now.
Really nice.
It's all these majestic staged photos of Lance being all majestic-y and stuff.
I've got plenty of pictures of busted carbon if you'd like to see that.
Oh, yes. So those will be our Facebook page and our Instagram page are both at Dial Podcast. You can go there and check those out. And you can always go to the website too, the dialedpodcast.com if you want to check things out there. But other than that, that's where you can go find stuff. And my other one last thing is I just wanted to thank Justin for coming on today and have him tell us one more time about the Liberty Road Race that you guys have coming up on July 28th.
July 28th. Spangle, Washington, staging at Liberty High School. Sign up. You can probably just Google Liberty Road Race. In fact, let me validate that while I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I think you should get the Team ODZ page. It came up for me. I don't know if that's because I'm signed in or not, but Liberty Road Race, July 28th, in Spangle, Washington. you can register now. So definitely do it.
Yeah.
Happy to have you guys.
Yeah, awesome. And also go to Team ODZ to check out more stuff on ODZ if you're interested in joining what they've got going on over there, which is a good thing. Justin, just out of curiosity real quick, I'm not sure if you said this earlier, roughly how many people are a part of Team ODZ digitally?
Well, there's lots of ways to measure that. I'd say people who have done, so we have a private Facebook group where a lot of banter goes on. There's like 2,500 people there. But maybe people who have actively done something more than just joining a Facebook group, maybe bought the kit, raced for us, designated us through Zwift Power, is looking at more like 300 to 400. So,
jeez, that's pretty big time stuff there, man. I wanted to congratulate you on that because this stuff just blew up, and it's. I'm not going to say it's out of control because he's got total control and he's doing a great job of molding this thing. But they are just on fire right now, and it's good stuff. You can also learn more about the Liberty Road Race too if you wanted to go to WSBARacing.com. That is the Washington State Bicycle Association's direct website so that you don't end up at the bar association. And you can see all the other fun stuff that they have going on up there and well, I guess all over the state of Washington. They actually serve Washington, Oregon, and North Idaho, so it's kind of a cool thing. We get quite a few people that do some of their races as well. So anyway.
One other thing I want to add, I am not the kingpin of ODZ. I am one of the kingpins. So there's actually like 13 guys that do all the behind the scenes stuff. So yeah, definitely not just me. There's no way I could manage a group that big by myself.
Yeah,
so.
You guys are doing a good job. So again, one more time, Justin, thank you so much for coming on today. We really appreciate that. Lance, you take care of yourself out there. Where exactly are you right now at this very moment?
I'm in Moab, Utah. I'm staring at the Red Rock with the dog sleeping upside down in front of the window. Nice. So,
oh my Lord, you suck. I'm just gonna come clean and say it. We're all very envious of you.
Oh, so. I deserve that for sure.
All right, I think we're all good here, guys. Again, everybody, thank you. Listeners, thank you for listening. You guys all take care, and bye for now.